Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is Skip Rogers. Skip is the founder and executive director of Able Forces, but he's also our councilman here in Front Royal on the town council. Now, you were appointed when?
October. I think I attended my first meeting.
Right, in October.
Mike, in November.
Right.
End of October, beginning of November.
Yeah. Is it anything like you thought it would be?
Mike, coming from business, and coming from my own business, I'm used to a certain way of interacting and goal setting and so forth. Politics is a little different, being even at a town level. I think.
Sure.
So it's taking some getting used to. I think I'm starting to get my sea legs, if you will. So it's been a learning exercise.
When you heard this seat was open and they were going to appoint someone, and you said, "Well, I think you have an idea of getting something." So, kind of, what was your idea and what you thought how did you think you could contribute to the town?
There's been a number of folks, Mike, probably over the last 5-6 years, at least, that have encouraged me to think about politics, think about town council in particular.
Sure.
And I've been here since '09 on Chester Street as a business, on Blue Ridge as my residence. I've had a chance to know a number of the political folks in the town, and also kind of going through what we've experienced the last 4, 5, 6 years. So my vision in terms of when this opportunity came up was, what do I want to achieve? What do I believe I can bring to the table? And there's a number of things, several things anyway, that I feel pretty strongly about, that I'm working on or will be working on over the course of the next 8-9 months or so. So that's been my focus. There's a number of things I think we need to address. I want to be positive about this whole thing.
Sure. It gets a lot more accomplished when we're positive about it.
It's not as challenging than being confrontational and negative, Mike. So
we get things done by cooperation.
We have to, right? There's too many players. There's too many folks that are impacted. If we look at this community, and that's my focus is the community, and what can I bring to assist the community in where we want to go. I think we're in an incredible growth period right now, Mike. I think over the last few years especially, we're seeing numbers of things develop in our community, in our county, and our town. We have a growth focus in terms of development that is going to change the face of, I think, the county over the course of the next 5 years or so. All of that has impacts on infrastructure and I think I can bring I don't want to say an outside Mike, but I think I can bring a new look at things with my background as a business person. I've always been involved in community. Right,
you have.
And so, I think they complement one another, and I'm excited about this next phase in my career.
Well, are you have some frustrations at the moment with the town or the council, or just kind of things in general, like that's kind of hindering some of the things you want to do?
We're coming through. One of the things that I've been working on pretty hard over the last few weeks in particular. We had a vote a few weeks back where we terminated the MOU with county. For better or worse, I voted to cancel that MOU, readdress some of the issues that have been talked about. That had a significant impact, I think, on a number of people. That impacted tourism, directly impacted Discover Front Royal, and also impacted all of those folks that have been working for a long time, 3 years, and certainly over the last year and a half. So we have, it was my strong interest that we need to rebuild that relationship, that MOU between town and county, and also see if we can address some of the real concerns, valid, realistic concerns of Discover Front Royal. So, surprisingly, over the last few weeks, we've been able to accomplish a lot, Mike. We've, with the canceling of the MOU, that next day, our town manager addressed the issue with his counterpart, Ed Daly, Ed
Daly.
On the county side. That discussion has started. We have addressed some of the concerns of Discover Front Royal. We now have a new chairman. There's a lot of history in Carrie Barnhart and her team that has brought this along over this period of time. She has stepped away from directing and moved into a director's slot. Her knowledge and experience is vital. Claire Schmidt has taken over as director. I'm very, very excited about that. And so what we've seen here in a few weeks was the beginning of what I think was a disaster. When we canceled that MOU, I was not feeling good. It was the message that we sent to the county. It was the message that we sent to Discover Front Royal and the people behind it. As I look at it now, I don't know. Maybe it was the best thing, maybe not. But I think we're on a track now, Mike, where we're making great headway with the county, I believe.
Right.
And we're making significant headway in our relationship, the town's relationship with Discover Front Royal and so forth. So
sometimes you just got to stir the things up to get the focus centered back on.
Oh, that's a good way. Yeah, good way to look at it.
And you can talk about it all day long and nothing happens. So until you get in there and bash it with a hammer, and then all of a sudden, people wake up and said, "Oh, maybe there is a situation we have to deal with it." Kind of forces the issue. Maybe, and there's bad and good, but like you said,
absolutely.
If we do it with the idea that we're trying to make it better and looking not just to change it, but to make it better and to make it fair and equitable, I think that's the thing too. I think we've always had this animosity between the town and the county, and we got to realize. And I try to explain it to people. They talk about double taxation and all, and I said. Yeah. We really don't have double. I mean, here's how I look at it. We're all in the county. Just like the county has sanitary districts that take care of certain things in that location. The town is no different. And the problem is the town doesn't focus on what the town needs to be doing. I mean, we have our electric, our water, our sewer, our trash, and our roads. Anything else is a county function. And it's just like if we were in Shenandoah Farms, taking care of those roads don't affect people that live over in High Knob, right? So High Knob people shouldn't have to pay to fix something that only Shenandoah Farm uses, just like the town. Yeah. County resident or people that don't live in the town limits. So even if we had a town government, we would still have an overlay district that we'd be paying extra fees. So it's not double. You're only paying for what. Kind of like that insurance, you only pay for what you need.
Yeah.
But that's maybe a broad thing, but it's true. I mean, if we don't want that, then just say we don't want it and don't pay for it.
One of those things that's important to me, Mike, is communication, and that's why I felt so bad about the MOU that we terminated. Right. Behind that was my feeling that we should have communicated better with the county. we should have communicated better with Discover Front Royal. These are
Right.
my feelings, right?
Right.
And yeah, that's one of the areas of focus of mine, is to open up lines of communication. You know, Mike, we carry with us, there's a lot of baggage that has influenced people's feelings, especially over the last 6-7 years, with everything we've gone through and continue to go through. So I think one of the things that's really important is to get folks to sit down, talk about issues, talk about anger, and move on, right?
Yeah,
Put it behind us.
We've listened, we've vented.
Yeah.
Let's move on. You know,
Yeah.
it's something kind of what you do in business. You get the parties that work it and controlled, or the involved parties. You sit down in the room, you hash it out, and when it's all said and done, we all agree to whatever we agree on. That's a decision, good or bad, and you move forward and leave it behind you because somebody also has to be in charge, and I think we did move towards that direction as far as tourism goes. I think the county has said, okay, this Discover Front Royal, you're in charge, and we pooled the monies together and we've come up with that. So I think that direction finally got something, an organization.
I think we're moving forward on that.
Yeah.
I think we're moving forward in a positive way. The financials and the agreements between financing and so forth is underway.
This tourism is a vital part of our
absolutely.
economy.
Absolutely.
We just have to be focused on what are we trying to do? Where are we trying to draw people to what and for what purpose?
Yeah.
And, it's just kind of like politics. All politics are local. Sometimes all tourism is local.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to, sometimes they go way out here and try to go in, and maybe we need to be in and go out,
If we look, Mike, over the course of the next 5 years or so, on the table now with the town is a huge development issues are facing us, with hundreds of new homes,
right,
which means hundreds, if not thousands, of new folks, hundreds of new vehicles coming into town, right, and
millions
services.
of gallons of water that's going to be
Absolutely. So these are the kind of things that, in a 5-year plan, for example, what are we looking at? How do we address those kinds of things? We have stresses between town and county as it relates to that. We have how do we face economic development with some of the issues that we're dealing with. Well, it's really important to me that we work together in union with one another. I personally don't want to see us separating ourselves in terms of developing here and developing there. I think we need to work as a team. We need to establish confidence in one another, respect for one another. Not saying that we don't, but I think all of that is, developing, Mike.
Yeah. If we don't cooperate, we're going to, the old say, a house divided will fall.
Absolutely.
And we have to look at it that way in the county. I always try to tell people Front Royal's the heart and soul of Warren County, but it's still part of Warren County.
Absolutely.
And it's just kind of like what the Bible says, each part has its own function. We have the church, but, each part, the head does what the head does, the leg does what the leg does, and it's the same way with our government or our whole community.
Yeah.
One person can't do everything, so it involves all the in all aspects of the government.
Mike, there are such exciting things happening in both the county and the town. Hands down, we can talk about, development here is limited because this and that. But if you look at each entity, right, there is tremendous opportunities out in our county.
Right.
For not only business, but for recreation and so forth, right?
Right.
Similar with the town. One of the things, too, that is, we have some real issues, I believe, with some of the distressed housing and distressed properties in this community. We have to begin to address that. if we look at potential growth within this town,
Right.
some of those properties don't need to be there, I believe.
Right. Well, you know, it's the old saying, you judge a book by a cover. So when people are coming to, hey, I'm going to bring my business to Front Royal, and they drive down the street.
Absolutely.
And all you see is dilapidated buildings. And what that reflects is there's no pride in this community.
Yeah.
And they want to see something done. No one wants to move into a dump.
Absolutely,
and
Mike.
Not saying
Absolutely.
that it is, but there's always room for improvement.
Yep.
And I think the town and the county has been moving that direction,
Yep.
trying to clean things up. I know that we finally got some people in the zoning office that's going around trying to encourage people to get back in line with our plan.
Yes.
And that's the comprehensive plan's coming online here soon.
Yep.
And if we can get the county to come in so that we're kind of have the same basic plan, at least going in the same direction, so
Yeah.
one doesn't fight the other.
Yeah.
And then maybe I tell people all the time, we look at Winchester, we think, wow, it's so much nicer in Winchester. But what they've had is they've got 50 years of zoning on us that we didn't have in Front Royal. It's kind of like going to West Virginia. They don't have any zoning
It's
in
really
West Virginia.
difficult to
know?
compare us to
Yeah, we're behind.
to Winchester.
It is.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, that's the one thing they've had.
Yeah.
They took the bull by the horn, did the zoning,
Yeah.
and said we're going to enforce. And
Yeah.
and now look what you have. But it takes time. You can't do it overnight.
Mike, one of the things that we're beginning to see, we've got great new people coming into positions of influence and authority.
And they're younger too.
Well, I'm 73. I don't know. if,
But I'm saying, but we
but-
haven't.
but you're right, for the most
we have,
part.
we have a lot of younger people
We-
coming.
we do.
And that's the future of anything. Is,
Yeah, yeah.
They always say your kids are your future. Well, these young people coming into government and into politics, those
Yeah.
are the future.
We've got young, bright people coming in. You're exactly right. On the county side as well as on the
Right.
town side, on committee sides, right?
Right.
So we have, I just think, great opportunities.
So what's the next step? What do you think is the next step for, say, us in the community? What do we need to do?
I think we need to continue to work on relationship with the county. I think that's key, Mike.
Right.
The relationship between town and county, whether it be tourism, whether it be development, the message that we need to send not only to our community but to those looking at us, maybe initially as coming for a weekend,
Right.
or coming to canoe in the Shenandoah.
Right.
But beyond that, as I said, we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of new homes. This community is going to build. We need to work together on enhancing some of those challenges that we're dealing with. And it's got to start with our relationships.
Right.
And our relationships, I think, are key to moving
Right.
forward. So.
Like I say, when some of these larger national type businesses that are bringing in hundreds of jobs,
Yeah.
they look at one, do you have a workforce for us?
Yeah.
Are they educated in the areas we want? And then they say, okay, we do. Then they say, well, do you have housing for our workers? Well, we don't. So we will say sometimes, well, how come we got bypassed on some of these things? Because, there's a checklist. You got a workforce, you got a housing, you got infrastructure.
Absolutely, Mike.
The big thing, what's the relationship with the governments?
Yep.
These are all key things. If there's animosity or we preach this business friendly, but I'm telling you, until you change your hat, and all of a sudden what you've done is go get a building permit, or go try to do something, or go just do something simple. How did that work for you?
Yeah.
And you look at it and say, well, they wrote the rules, but they don't always apply. Not that they don't apply, but they just haven't had the opportunity to use them. And so sometimes maybe what we need to do is, okay, we write it, now let's go back through and see if it works.
Yeah. Mike, one of the things that I have, I had an opportunity right after I came on board to, I was with our town manager, Joe Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
Took a couple of us around, took everyone around at different times, but I had a chance to visit all of the various offices and meet with a lot of the young men and young women, or the men and women
Sure.
that are behind the scenes, right? You see me, or you see the mayor, you see
Right.
whoever, but but we don't make day-to-day work, right? So I had an opportunity to meet with those folks in planning, all of the various departments and offices that
Takes a lot, doesn't it?
it does take a lot. And I'll tell you what, one of the things that has concerned me and I think concerned others is we've got numbers of our employees that wear 2 and 3 hats. And that's exhausting, Mike, and it concerns me, right? That we need to retain good employees, Mike, and how do you do that, right? You get great relationships going with supervisors and so forth.
Sure.
You pay them equitably. You provide them a ladder of growth.
Sure.
And those kinds of things that allow individuals to feel a part of it, and I think we need to do more work on that.
Yeah.
I think we're in the process of a compensation study.
Yeah, that's the first thing we always go for is the pay, because that's easy, to do it. But, you've done it through business and you go through studies. Pay is not the number one thing. It boils down to the relationship. It's
Absolutely.
The working environment. It's are you respected in your job?
Yep.
Pay is important, but it's not the number one thing.
Yeah.
And that always seems to be the very first thing we do.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at why do people? Most people that have already
Enhance
been
the workspace, right? Enhance the workspace, and it's not one thing.
I was over to the school district, and they've been complaining about their work. They got this nice new building, but it's like you're walking into a prison. It's painted, like industrial green, and you know what I mean.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
So they finally got the wall painted white and got a nice blue accent wall, and all of a sudden it just changed their whole attitude
Absolutely,
of coming to work. And we took something off the window. Now the sun comes in, and when you sit in a dungeon for Mark's here, he can explain that. He didn't have any windows in his office, But it's true. So, sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. But, try to work in improve the workspace makes a big difference.
Well, it's...
and then throw them some money.
Absolutely.
Benefits. We have that problem in town. People that, it seems like, and I use this a lot, the department heads already making really good money. Their benefits are more than we're paying the guy that's working on the trash truck, and he doesn't have a benefit. But I tell people, jobs are like a bell curve. You need whoever's at the bottom of one and never at the top of the other. They're both important. It's just like using the waste as an example. Try to go without your trashman for 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Like a brain surgeon. The difference is how long does it take to replace them or train them?
Yeah.
And the decisions they have to make. So that kind of governs that. But both are important. New York City tried to do it without their waste department, sanitation department. The place piled up, and all of a sudden they caved. Well, I guess you guys are important. I think we have to look at that.
We had and again, we've got some great people that are really focusing on addressing some of our needs. In a comparison of similar communities, we're about 15% under the salaries of similar folks in similar communities. We need to address that. We need to address, I believe the number is in excess of 20. We don't have a large workforce here in our town. So to say that there's 20 folks that we have 20 open slots, 25 open slots.
That's 20%.
In a community like this, that is significant.
Yeah.
So
it's been that way for a year or two.
Budget is an issue. We need to continue to look at budget. BJ is friggin' fabulous.
Right.
He is a wealth of knowledge in terms of the financial operations of this community.
That's because you stuck him in a place with no window and he just sits in there.
That's right. All he can do is work those numbers. But I'm really optimistic, Mike.
Yeah.
I think, again, we've got some great people.
Yeah, I've run across the staff. I've never had any issue with the new staff and the new manager. Everybody seems to be working together. And I think Joe's has changed the attitude of the town
It's great
hall.
to have him back. I believe that sincerely. It's great
Joe
to
can
have
look
him.
at it and say, I've been where you're at.
Yeah.
He didn't come from the top down. He come from the bottom up.
Yep.
And I think he's been there and he knows what it's like.
Well, Mike,
so what do you want to do next? I mean, I know you've. I want to make sure that you're. When's your term up? By the way.
It'll be up in November.
in the election.
They're at the election.
When they elect,
right?
because you're on a, whenever they elect someone, they'll continue whatever term you have then, or that'll be a new term.
It'll be a new term. And Mike, to be honest, I'm in the process of kind of assessing what I can bring to the
Sure,
table.
sure.
I think we all have to do that. If you're going to be an elected or an appointed official, it's really important to kind of assess your impact.
Right.
Can I be a positive influence? Can I bring something to the table that will benefit our community? I'm in the process of doing that now.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about some of the headway that we're making.
Yeah.
We'll see how the next few months go. I love this community. I have loved it since
Well,
we've moved here.
I think the public wants to know that their councilman and the mayor are actually just not up there just juggling papers, but are
Yeah.
actually doing something
Yeah.
that, we don't always see the big picture.
Yeah.
We're always focused on our own little thing that we're interested in,
Yeah.
our issue. But, we need to look at, the council should be looking at the whole community.
And I think that's what we're doing. We may have
But
different.
they need to communicate that,
Absolutely, we absolutely need to do that. Communication is key. But I believe we have a mayor. God bless her. We have a mayor that is in the leadership position, and we have a council, all of which I believe are interested in moving our community forward. We may have different. May have different ideas about how you do that.
Okay.
And for example, I'm looking forward tonight. We're having our retreat, our council retreat.
Right.
It'll be an opportunity for us to get away from the public and really sit down because there's guidelines and there's rules, state rules and regulations saying, hey, 2 of you can get together and talk, but you can't do it with 3.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're really restricted in what we can talk about. And tonight is one of those opportunities when we'll get together for 4 or 5 hours to kind of take a look at where do we want to go, how do we want to get there, what are the important issues,
Yeah,
and
not
so
really dealing with any particular issues on the table, but kind of looking at really where the council needs to be. That's
Yep.
focusing 1, 2, 5, 10, 50 years down the road.
Yeah.
We have to
And
have
that's a great point, Mike. There, what is the game plan, right? The game plan isn't this month
Right.
or this year or this term, right?
Right.
What's our 5-year focus?
That's right.
What's our 10-year focus?
Yeah.
The comprehensive plan, planning department, Lauren and all of her supporting cast of characters. I think they've done an incredible job.
Yeah, I try to reiterate to council people when they're running. Remember, the council doesn't run the town. I mean, they're the visionaries. They should be making the plans for the town to succeed going down the road.
Yeah.
We have a town manager form of government. Let the man do his job
Yep.
and tell him what you want him to do and get out of the way.
Yeah.
And we haven't had that, I don't think, here in the last couple of managers have been a little micromanaging type, or the council made up. It only takes us one cog in the wheel to have a little nick in it, and it gets messed up. You know what I mean?
I do know what you
it
mean.
It ticks, and it just
I know what you-
irritates, pokes.
But I see it as that's all passed.
Yeah, I
right?
see it as all passed.
Right? It's
I
all
agree.
passed, and we've got.
I think we're running on all cylinders right now, and
I'm glad to hear you say that.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think, the mayor and the council we have are all, working together. We got a V8 running nice and smooth.
Yeah, yeah.
Wouldn't hurt to turn up the turbocharger a little bit. You know what I mean?
We'll do it.
But, I feel good about it. And we can keep the communications open and let people just kind of come in. And I mean, we had the mayor, and she's coming back again in the few after the retreat, I think.
Okay, good.
She and I said, well, bring your new council person with you,
Yep.
and just to introduce people to the public, and
Yeah.
just be out there and be like you're available. I think
Well,
that's what people
I
want.
appreciate this, Mike. This is my first opportunity
That's right.
to kind of
We-
speak, and
we want
with
you back.
you,
Yes.
and I'd love to come back. But I think that our community needs to see us.
I think so.
Right? They may get little clips, little articles. But this is an opportunity to kind of see our elected officials, or just our the supporting cast of characters that are critical to make this thing work.
Right.
So
It's why
this is nice.
People say, "Well, what's on the interview?" I said, "We don't interview people. We just have a conversation."
No, there's no agenda.
There's no. Can I have the questions? I say there isn't any
There's
questions.
no question,
So
yeah.
I say as the Spirit moves us,
Yeah,
you know. But
yeah.
seriously, that's why if you have, I tell people if you have something you want to get off your chest, this is a place to
Yeah.
bring it out, and we talk about that, and just kind of like discuss it and come up with a conversation
Yeah.
and get some of my ideas implanted in your brain.
Right. Well, it's. I would hope that community makes comments.
I think so. They do.
and those comments are important.
Right.
Kathy and I, my wife, 47 years.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time downtown. I spend time at the schools. Some time with athletics. It's important for me to be engaged in the community.
Sure.
Right? And I think most of us, to a certain extent, do that.
Right.
But this is another opportunity to just kind of see in a
Well-
free and easy going dialogue.
Sure. You mentioned the downtown, and one thing the council, my impression is anyway, and speaking with Lizzie Lewis, your
Yes.
special events coordinator,
Yes.
that the town is focused on more events, local events.
Yeah.
And the last 2 or 3 we've had have been just like record turnout.
Phenomenal.
And most of those are local people, and that's if you can get the people that live here involved,
Yes.
and they see the great things that we have, that'll just help. It just kind of helps the whole picture.
And you're exactly right, Mike. I think, and those local people we have our relationships outside of this community, right? And so the positive nature of what we're doing here as a community really does reach out to
it does.
Northern Virginia.
That's how we get businesses to come in. That's how we
absolutely.
get people to move here. It's not really much effort from the EDA or from the Discover Front Royal. The real effort comes with talking to your relatives, talking to your friends,
Yeah.
visiting people out,
Yeah.
and if they see you, when your light's shining, people see it and they want some of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. Well, Skip, I appreciate you coming in and talking to us.
Thanks for the invite.
And you're welcome to come back anytime.
And I will, Mike. I will.
Next time, bring one of your companions with you. And
All right.
all
right.
And we'll talk. We talk about Able Forces. If you want to know something about that, we're going to put a link to his website on there because
Thank you.
guys do a lot of great work for our veterans in our community, and I don't know if a lot of people know that or not.
you.
But
Yeah.
but also the council and show up, and you have public comments. You welcome the public to come to the meetings, and it is a shame that only time people come is when they're upset about something, and it's okay to go and tell them everything's great.
Yeah.
Give a little special kudos to somebody.
Well, to the community, I think both myself and my council members in this community, I've been working with more and more of our county folks.
Right.
There is a real sincerity to kind of heal and move forward.
Right.
And I think there's a real effort on all of that. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about it, and I
Great.
look forward to it
Good.
continuing.
All right. Thanks again. Appreciate
Okay,
it,
Mike.
Skip.
Thank you.